We are good to go, I think. Yes, good. Here we go. All right, then you can close this. Pull this back up so I can switch cameras. And we are good. Audio's on. We are good to go. All right, guys, welcome back. I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. We're going to be doing episode number 7 of the Tower of Zenopus. If you were here last week, you saw where we ended. I posted on the community post kind of what happened. I went ahead and also posted. I gotta fix it real quick. I also posted a thing about potential what we'd be doing next time. I don't want to spend a huge amount of time on it because I'm going to do probably this in more of a video format type of thing later. But I will go ahead and talk about this in more detail or some detail right now. Let me look at the poll real quick. See if it's had any last minute adjustments. I don't think it has. This. Oops, I don't want that up. Let me come here. Okay. Post. Okay, yes. So let me go ahead and refresh. So I did a poll about how to fill the party. The whole talk was about using, let me get her name right. We are still the same. No one has voted in the last few minutes. But Ronilda Chalker was the party torchbearer. And she ended up doing a save versus charm person last week and told the magic user that she was not going to submit and that she was basically going to fight. And the poll was, we have to fill the party with, or we should be filling the party with a 5th person. Do we want to pick her? And it looks like 71% of you guys said to go with her. So we are going to go ahead and go with her. I have a new miniature for her. This is going to be her. It's a plastic pre-painted mini, but it works perfect. She has like maybe a wand, a silver wand or a dagger. I'm going to go with a wand. And she has like a little side purse type of thing, like almost like a back, not like a saddle bag almost is what it looked like, which I thought was pretty cool. Minimalist type of thing. Character sheet, she actually has like a backpack, but that's a different story. And then scheduled downtime. I asked if you guys wanted to schedule downtime. That was another thing I asked in there. And 80% of you guys said to go ahead and schedule some downtime. And 100% of you guys said to schedule downtime. 80% went towards doing the 5 long dead and the 1 reanimated that was found and then slain inside the 6 open or 6 sealed sarcophaguses. And we're going to go ahead and do that in just a second. I want to get to the last poll and then we'll jump back to this because it's kind of related. So the other poll I did, which 3 polls in a week is a lot of polls, but we did have a lot going on, was a question about what are we doing with this sword? We actually have everyone with a magic item and as far as a weapon that can use it. So we have an elf and 2 fighters, and we have 4 magic items. So we actually have an additional one. The cleric can't use any of the magic weapons because they're all swords or daggers, as it turns out. And 17% of you guys said to give it to Hilda, who has the dagger of dancing, which is not fully able to dance as of yet. We'll get to that. And 33% said to give it to Rumwald, the guy who ran away from the gelatinous cube but then came back and has been doing some serious work. He has a magical dagger, so this would give a magical sword. Mechanically, it doesn't change anything. All weapons do a d6 damage, so it's not like he can use it offhand or that he's going to get more damage. It's just probably a more fighter-like weapon. 17% said to sell it for profit, and 33% said to save it for later. So I'm going to roll a d6, and on a 4, 5, or 6, we're going to add that to Rumwald, and I'll add 400 XP to Rumwald at the end of this game session. And then if I roll 1, 2, or 3, we'll go ahead and save it for later. Now, what that may mean is that Ronilda, who can use the magic dagger potentially because she's a magic user, could use that dagger and he gets the sword. But we won't go into that right now. We'll just let Ronilda get a little bit more experience, maybe a chance to earn her own thing or to do favors to actually be able to do that. And I haven't rolled her spells yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick before we get too far into this as well. But let me go ahead and just roll that d6. I'm going to switch my camera angle real quick. One of the things I'm going to be getting is a little changer, so I can go ahead and like a little disc changer. It's not the right word, but I'm going to go ahead and get one of those. You push a button and it decks, it's like a stream decks type of thing, so that this is all smooth and without transition and that type of stuff. And I'm still working on a little bit of the lag in the laptop. I have a solution. It just requires a little bit of time and money, and I'll be rolling that out here soon. All right, here's for my roll. 4, 5, or 6. It goes to Rumwald. So we are going to save that for later, and Rumwald is not going. I need to update my list. So we'll keep Orem up front again. We'll have Hilda jump back to the front after Rumwald did his little penance, I guess you could say, up front. Now we'll have Ronilda. And then we will have the new torchbearer, whoever that is. I'm just going to name that as Torch. And then we will have Oddberg. And then we will have Rumwald in the back again. I'll put that over here so people can see this who are viewing. Also, if you happen to post a comment, I am actively watching chat, so I will try and respond to that in a reasonable fashion. Otherwise, if I get a bunch of things all at once, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and check it every 15 minutes or so, or after combat, and then respond back to some things that are being said then. Let me go ahead and switch to my other camera real quick. I really need to get that little push button so I can just do that faster. Have my microphone muted, camera on, like quicker. That type of thing. I think that'd be good. Okay. Oh yes, spells. So let's go ahead and talk real quickly about Ronilda. I could really just show her stats. That'd be fun, but you'll see it at some point in time. So she has a staff and a dagger. She has a backpack, water skin, 6 torches, lantern, free flask, 2 holy water, 2 cantrops, rations, and iron rations. So she's pretty well equipped. She had a pretty decent amount of money when she started. Her special, and of course she's been given stuff as she goes, so she actually has 20 gold currently from the adventure and doing the being a torchbearer for like literally five prior, so five ventures into, or four ventures into, and one was extended into the Tower of Zenopus. She'd been tipped, I guess you'd say, paid 20 gold. But her AC is 9 because she's just wearing cloth. But she has a 7 strength, 16 intelligence, really good intelligence, an 8 wisdom, and she has a 10 dexterity, a 12 constitution, and a 10 charisma. So not very good on a whole lot of things. She is clearly a good person. She has no experience. I was going to give her 500 experience for being in 5 different adventures. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that down as 500 because she was essentially the torchbearer. Gave her 100 XP per adventure into there. So that's going to be her starting XP. She needs another 2,000 to level because second level is 2,500. She is a magic user. I don't know if I said that already. But yeah, that is what we got to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll for some spells. Let me go ahead and get my book. And we need to find a couple things real quick. For example, I need to find what the adjusted intelligence is for this version of the game. Also, if you're new to Holmes Edition Dungeons & Dragons and you don't know, a 9 is the worst armor class you can have. It's not good. Essentially, a brand new character would have to roll a 10 on a D20 to be able to hit you. Higher level people would need less than a 10 to hit you. So there's a lot of things she could do to raise her armor class, and that might be a thing. However, not being in combat would probably be the most important thing, and she probably should, well, having this spell would be nice. She probably shouldn't cast like protection from evil or mage armor type stuff, shield, those type of things, until she has far more spells to burn at first level. There's like a lot of spells you'd want to know before that. She just never wants to be in close combat with a D4 hit points, mind you. So damage of the D6, she has a D4 hit points. And we're not rolling that until she gets hit. So we won't know what her hit points are. Kind of, I think, puts tension on it. And that's how I've done all the characters. If they don't have their hit points rolled, it's because they haven't been hit yet. And we don't know what their hit points are. We just assume they're one hit and they're dead. All right, so with a 16 intelligence, she has a 75% chance to learn any spell. She has 6 known minimum, and she can have up to 10 spells per level that she knows. So she's going to start with 6 spells out of the list. So I'm just going to mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's 6. And then we will go ahead and write the spells next to it in pencil. And we know that she has a 75% chance to learn. And then 6 min, 10 max. Now, if she happened to have a 17 intelligence, she'd be able to know all spells. And she'd have like an 85% chance, and she would start with 7. The benefit of having more intelligence as a magic user. This is specific to magic users and elves because they learn, and technically the way I run elves, it's probably the same. I just haven't thought about it for Holmes. But when I did elves in original Dungeons & Dragons, I did it just a little bit different. All right, let me get to spells. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the spells of first level real quick. We have Charm Person, Dancing Lights, Detect Magic, Enlarge, Hold Portal, the Light spell. Then we have Magic Missile, Protection from Evil, Read Languages, Read Magic. Now, Read Magic in my world is a free spell. Everyone has it. It's the only ritual spell that I actually have. I kept that from original Dungeons & Dragons, and the reason why is I don't see how a person could ever be a magic user and not have read magic. Like, it's just one you have to have. Also, elves do not have read magic. Therefore, they cannot use scrolls, which I also contend with in this version of the game too. I talk about that in the elf video. Elves have way more like martial abilities, but they have very little in the way of magical stuff. They can't use staves. They can't use, well, not magical staves. They can wield a staff. They just can't summon the power from a magic user only staff. Same thing with scrolls. They can't read a scroll. So, yes. Shield, Sleep, Tensor's Floating Disc, and Ventriloquism. Those are the spells that one could have. So, I'm going to go ahead and grab some percentile dice. I'm going to switch my camera again, and then we're going to roll some dice to see which spells I have. Prioritizing things like Sleep and Hold Portal and Light and that type of stuff, which will have very good uses. And then we'll go into some of the other stuff later. All right, let me go ahead and switch cameras. Yeah, looks like half my camera system came up. There we go. Okay, here is for Sleep. 75% chance to no sleep. Of course, I rolled a 92. We do not know sleep. Ugh. Okay, that's really unfortunate. Now, the elf finally knows sleep, but the magic user does not. We're going to do detect magic. I think that's an important one. We have a 45, so spell number 1 will be magic missile. So it's not that magic missiles, or excuse me, I wrote the detect magic. Only just do magic missile too. Yes, so I have both. So it's not that detect magic is so much more important than magic missile or sleep. But it's the top 6 spells that I'd want to know. I'm just trying to think of spells that'd be in the top 6 things. Hold Portal. Nope. Light. 18, so we do have light. Now, why I went with magic missiles, because I did not get sleep. I feel like you almost have to have some form of like defense or offense. If you don't get sleep, you need to have something, right? Let's see here. I'm going to go with shield. Nope. Amazing. We'll go with protection from evil. That is a 7%. Protection from evil gives a slight benefit to AC. +1 to all save throws, and subtracting 1 from the hit of enemies, basically +1 or 1 better armor class. I don't feel like that's as important as like shield spell would be, but what that does is you can have protection from evil and shield at the same time. The problem with shield spells is only 2 turns. And protection from evil lasts for 6 turns. So it's like good for buffing up for like boss fights, and protection from evil can be cast on other people's shield can only be cast on yourself. Okay. I'm going to go with Tensor's Floating Disc. I like that spell. We have in there 8%. Why I like that spell, though, is different than maybe a lot of people, and I think that's a great reason actually to take it. because I can maybe show it as I would use it, which a lot of people are like, why? What's the point of it? Hold portal, that'd be another good one. 36. All right, so yeah, I don't have. I don't think I have. I don't think I have anything based off of my list here that screams, I need to know it now. So Magic Missile does a missile that does a d6 plus 1 damage. It's pretty nice. Can't really do it in combat because you're going to get jacked. I think I'm going to go ahead and memorize this. I'm going to memorize Tinder's floating disc right now. So I'll put like a little asterisk next to it. And that'll be her spell. She's not going to use it in combat. Not going to use it for really anything. But if you come to the right scenario where this needs to be cast, it's a great spell. We'll use it there. Okay. I mixed a slushy with some of the Mountain Dew. So it's a sort of a weird mix. It's like a Red Bull slushy from Sonic mixed with that cream soda Mountain Dew. If you saw my other video where I was kind of feeling nostalgic. And it's a very weird taste. Red Bull slushy with the orange cream soda Mountain Dew. It's a very concoction type of flavor, shall we say. Okay, we have that. We have this. Here's the stats. I told you I'd show you the stats. Let me come over here, actually. Better this way. I'm going to trust that you can see that while I get some stuff set up. All right, so we're going to continue talking over this. Doing the final rest, the ritual of I'm going to switch cameras real quick because I don't need this anymore like that. So the ritual of doing the final rest, the last rites, shall we say, to all those dead that we found, the 5 plus the 1 skeleton that animated. I was kind of thinking about this a little bit, and I came up with a great story. I'll talk about the parts that are in the Tower of Zenopus, and I'll tell you what I added. So here's what it says. And I'm going to say these things in like a list, okay? And then I'll go through and we'll talk about what I did with it. And I'm literally going to go in alphabetical order of the rooms. So we have some sort of succinctness, I guess you could say, of how this goes. And I'll try to remember all these as we go. Okay, so room B, as in boy. That was the room that had the 4 niches and the niches, or whatever we're going to call it, that was expanded off of the room where we had the skeletons. I want to say that was like Tower of Zenopus 2 when we had that happen. And we ended up fighting 4 different skeletons. It was easy, no problem. No one was really in danger. Some dice were rolled in anger, but excuse me. No one got close to death. No one was hit, as I remember. So we have 4 skeletons in room B as in boy. Now, the next room I'll talk about is room F. Room F is where we had the fighter and we had the magic user. I'm going to go into this just a little bit more detail and talk about the fighter. And this is where Ronalda made her save versus charmed person. What the magic user was telling Ronalda is to submit to his will, and to take up arms against her allies. And she felt this magical urge that was trying to get her to do that before she made her save, and she resisted the charmed person. She, as a magic user, knows what charm person is and could relay this to them, which then brought up questions about she directed the fighter to fight and the fighter fought. Maybe some charm person was used in the fighter. Now, the party hasn't dove into whether they killed a good person or not. I don't feel like necessarily that's a story I'm trying to tell in this thing here, but that could be a story, if you told it, that you could have in there. The actual truth of it is he's not necessarily good. He is neutral. He isn't actually a bad guy necessarily, and he could have been bartered with if he wasn't under the effects of charm. So if they killed the magic user first, if they had somehow restrained the fighter, they could have broken that spell and potentially earned an ally or a higher level fighter, because he was not first level, as you remember. Okay. Or at least befriended a higher level fighter. He wasn't terribly high, but he was just a little bit higher than the party, or at least most of the party, because we'll get to that, because Oddberg is now second level, which is pretty cool. And I haven't looked to see if I've rolled his hit points. I have not rolled his hit points. We're going to do that in stream today, too. We'll get to that. Now we'll go down and we're going to jump to Room N as in Nancy. Room N was a room that had the 10 different sarcophaguses, where we had 6 that were open and 4 that was open and 6 that were sealed. We ended up working our way through the 6. We lost a fighter there. We lost. Oh, I could look down here and look at his name. Yeah, we lost Twillard. Twillard was killed by kobolds, if you remember, in that fight, because 3 of the 4 people lifting the sarcophagus lid that was made of stone failed their noxious gas save and were rendered unconscious for 6 turns because we rolled terrible. And in that period of time, Twillard got attacked by goblins, or kobolds, excuse me, and was killed by a lucky shot, or an unlucky shot, I guess we should say. So there was that. So Twillard is going to be given his final rest. Products or items are going to be given out. Inheritance going to go out to his family, of course. And then we're going to have all those dead. And the dead were being collected, the remains were being collected, and the names were being recounted and all that type of stuff. And they actually went back not only to complete that, but after talking with the head cleric of the Church of Light, the Shrine of Light that's in this area, they learned that if they were to collect enough information, they could take the bones, give them a proper blessing and a final rest, and they would be able to bury them. And it wouldn't be considered necessarily grave robbing, because you were preventing them from being left in the area where they could be risen from the dead. This would be proven later in 2 weeks ago, so in Tower of Zenopus 5, that when they opened the lid and the skeleton jumped up and started attacking. The skeleton had 7 hit points, which is more than the 2 hit points a skeleton normally has, because there are 1/4 hit dice in this edition of the game. But it gave them the ability to go ahead and realize this person's a special person of power. So essentially, there's no connective tissue in there. And the one thing I will say that is a spoiler that I read in Room F, but it guides a lot of what I'm doing, is the magic user, who's also not first level, obviously, guessed, because he had been hit for 5 hit points. So he's probably not first level. His goal is to take over the Tower of Zenopus. And I'm not going to dive terribly a lot into this, because I'm going to do probably a video talking about how I took the world and expanded it off of this, and I made my own thing from this. But let's just go ahead and say there's 4 skeletons, there's 4 empty sarcophaguses. There's a magic user running around who's really involved in wanting to literally take over the dungeon. And that that was just next to Room F, where the magic user was found. He's not a wizard. Wizard's a level, not just a class in this version of the game. So he's not a wizard. He's a magic user of some level, but he's not a wizard. He's not 9th level. That'd be terrible. He would have won the fight. Anyways, what happened is he would be raising the dead potentially, or getting scrolls so he could raise dead, or maybe had an ally that raised the dead for him. And that's why the skeletons were there, were because they were guarding one of his entrances or one of the pathways where he could walk from outside the tower into here and into his room without having to worry about the skeletons, because he probably doesn't have to worry about his skeletons. All right. So that's a thing. Let me go ahead and roll Oddberg's hit points. He has 5. He has a +1, if I'm not mistaken, from Constitution. No, he's missing a +1, so he's just a straight D6. We are re-rolling ones. Let me go ahead and switch cameras. So here is for that roll. 6! Oh my goodness, Oddberg. That is so awesome. Okay, so Oddberg is now 2 hit dice, and he has 11 hit points. That's cool. What a beefy dude. So you can see here I got my little level up. All right. So we have that. We have this. All right. So what does this mean for... I'm going to switch back cameras. So what does that mean now for the last rites? How much am I going to give XP-wise for the last rites? I was thinking about that. There's no real gold value. Oh, by the way, there was a coronet and a ring. The coronet will be found on the dead body of a female. We're going to get into that just right now. And the ring is a signet ring. That was another part I changed. There's no gender assigned to any of the skeleton remains that you find. There was a coronet and a ring, but I'm going to make the coronet a female coronet, which might be called a tiara. I don't know if there's a masculine and a feminine version of coronets. So if there isn't, we'll just call it a tiara, because it was on a female, a baroness, as a matter of fact. And the baroness is named, I have it right here, Achilda Tiller. That's her name. Achilda Tiller died 75 years ago, so back when the Tower of Zenopus was actually a tower, before it fell into ruin. And the Tillers are a very well-known family, not like renowned, like they are notorious for anything necessarily. Just there's a lot of them. They are the Smiths of my world. I have the Tillers. And there is actually a Castle Tiller. And Castle Tiller is actually, or was, how should I say this? The Lord of Castle Tiller was the nephew of Achilda. So that was his aunt, which means that the Lord of Castle Tiller, his father was her sister. She was his father's sister. Genealogy, right? So basically what that means is the Lord of Castle Tiller was a man, obviously, and his sister was this Baroness, who was the Baroness of Production, which means she was in charge of farmland, basically making sure crops were being grown. They had the stuff they needed. Livestock was being traded or sold, or like whatever the Baroness of Production would do. She was also known as a lady. Baroness of Production, and what was it? I have it written down somewhere. I'll figure it out. But she's also a lady of something else, not a coin or whatever, but she has a signet ring. Kind of like I have a wedding ring. She has a signet ring that she would use to stamp things. People would come to see her specifically. And there is now a new uh, baron or baroness of production, and that is actually the nephew of the current lord. So that would make it like her cousin or maybe her grandson. She herself was never married. She herself was never with child. She was a young baroness when she was killed. She was killed in an ambush by rivals, and her captain of the guard, her personal escort, her guardian, we want to call it, the the soldier that was designed or specifically stated to be her protection, her royal guard, was the skeleton that reanimated. I'm going to say that that happened because he was so torn up by it that his soul could not rest. So he rose from the dead, and that's why he was a higher hit dice, being probably 1+1, that compared to the skeleton's 1/4, than the rest of the people that were there. And the only one that came back was his sense of duty, essentially. Still good to put that person to rest because his eternal struggle would be basically hell. So definitely worthy of that, of like that final rest. His weaponry would have the heraldry of the tiller on there. So we're going to go ahead and mark that there's a heraldry symbol on that sword, which is actually being used by Orm. Orm is the one who's got the sword. Orm has the sword that has the heraldry of Tiller on there, and Hilda and Rumwald have daggers. The dagger has heraldry or some sort of symbolry on it as well, but it's not going to be from around here. That dagger was owned. Oh, I'm going to butcher the name. It's a Spanish name. My friend and I were just talking about it because I was bragging to him about this campaign, and he's the one that came up with it. He lives in Texas. So he'll see this and know. He's probably going to say it in the comments if he's watching right now. But it starts with an S. I'll think of it. It'll hit me like I sort of joke. It hit me like Tourette's later. Like what I mean by that is I'll be like asleep and all of a sudden I'll be like Sarah, but it's not Sarah. But like Sarah, and then it'll be stuck in my head. But it's a Spanish name. Yeah. Anyways, that person was a sage that worked for the Baroness, basically kept track of all of her stuff, would research things that she needed to know. If there was a disease with a particular variety of wheat or whatever, or vegetables, she would get the information and answers back from that. Basically, it was a part of the entourage that would travel with this Baroness. And she was sort of a Spanish-speaking person. She spoke the same language as the Baroness, which, by the way, I do have culture references, not anything about Tower of Zenopus. I'll talk about that later. This is a part of culture A, if you've ever seen any of my original Dungeons and Dragons, which is for ancient culture. This is part of the older culture, not the nomadic culture, which is culture N. She's not from either one of these two. The Spanish one is different. They come from a different part of the world. Sangria was the name of the person. See, hit me like Tourette's, like I said. Sangria was the name of the sage, though. So you have Akilda. Yeah, it's Sangria. The guard's name was Weddle. That's sounds like white person in Spanish. It's Widal. I'm forgetting how I pronounce that in my head. Weta is a white person in Spanish. Anyways, so that's basically what that is. And they have last names. When I do my post later tonight, I'll put Sadler was his name, last name, Weddle Sadler, and I probably will have to change the first name because I don't want to have that next to Sangria. But you get the general idea. Anyway, so that's where the +1 sword comes from. That's where the dagger of dancing comes from, which doesn't dance yet. It's just a dagger. And then that's where the tiara and signet ring come from. And we're going to go ahead and do a little adventure over there. I'll do it by blog. I'm not going to do it by the live stream. We're going to be focusing on this. But we'll go ahead and account for that in future XP. So I'll go ahead and attribute this, and I'll do probably a blog post talking about Castle Tiller and the travel there, and just do that kind of off script. Or maybe when I do a video, I'll have a special video talking about Castle Tiller, and we'll talk about that interaction there in more detail. All right, so let's go ahead and get into what we're doing today. So we've done the hit points. We've given out the XP. Oddberg now is of 2nd level. His spells, and I kind of really should have asked this maybe in a post. I think I will ask moving forward, but we need to kind of decide what spells he knows. Let me get to cleric spells here. Oh, come on. Here's magic user. Okay, here's cleric spells. 1st level cleric spells. We have Cure Light, Detect Evil, Detect Magic, Light, Protection from Evil, Purify Food and Water, Remove Fear, and Resist Cold. I feel like there's only one choice. There is Cure Light Wounds. I don't feel like I even need to do a blog post on that. I don't know why anyone would ever choose anything other than Cure Light Wounds. So I'm going to put Cure Light Wounds on here. Considering we had to wait a whole level to be able to cast it once. This will greatly increase how quickly we heal, and the fact that we can actually heal in combat. I don't feel like anyone else has got any purchases they need to make. We're going to go ahead and go back into the dungeon. And we'll have some decisions to make. And I'll go ahead and get to that in just a second. Okay. Let me go ahead. And we will make... Oh, we got one more roll we have to do. I need to roll to see our new torchbearer. Let me go ahead and switch cameras real quick. All right. So I have my new thing there. Let's see here. I'm going to go check how many people, if anyone's watching right now. All right. Kind of an off night to pick this night of the week to do this on. Saturdays are far better, I think. We don't have anyone watching right this second, but that is just fine. I'm not 100% doing this for that. But yeah, so I'm going to roll again on the Green Dragon Inn. We seem to have good luck when it comes to this type of thing. I think people have really liked the Green Dragon Inn. So I'm just going to roll off of here for our new person. And then I'll replace that person for next week. We're going to go with number 9. Number 9 is Allred Baker. He is a Barker. He is a fighter human. Interesting alignment. He has 11 strength, a 9 intelligence, an 8 wisdom, a 9 dexterity, a 7 constitution, and an 11 charisma. All right. Let me go ahead and find his character sheet, because I've already done character sheets for all the people. He should be in the back. Allred Barker. Yep, he wears chain when he's wearing his fighting stuff, which he won't I could see him wearing his chain shirt because that would be silly to not have his chain shirt and shield. So yeah, he probably fully armored and whatnot. But he is efficient and productive, is his natures and whatnot. He really didn't start off with a whole lot of money. That's why he's got chain. He has a large sack. That's good. Torchbearer. And this is our third torchbearer. First one was Grimwald, who ended up betraying the party. Second one was Ronilda, who got promoted to the party as well. And so far, she hasn't done anything like that, so we're doing good. So this guy will be the newest one. And we're going to use the same miniature for that as we did with the other ones. This one right here. I don't know if it's better there or there. We're going to use this guy with a cross for right now. Eventually, I'm going to get me a torchbearer. Probably next month, I'm going to be buying a torchbearer character so I can have that. All right, give me 1 second. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to step away. I'm going to jump to this screen. And I will be right back. I need to get me like a please stand by. But I have to go do something real quick. I'm back. Sorry about that. So, right, we are going into the tower. One of the things I didn't realize until last week, quite literally, is that we're not going in the main entrance. This is like something that was made. There's an actual proper stairwell that goes up from this level. No clue. I'm mostly blind when it comes to this module. I didn't know that was a thing, or that the tower actually existed above me. When it talked about the fact that some effects or assistant was like pushed in to like make, I guess they blocked the first level, but there you can still take the stairwell up. So there's an internal portion of this tower that you're going to explore, I'm assuming, from the stairwell. It might be just a stairwell, but the stairwell still exists to go up. I did not know that. That's crazy. Trying to drink a slushie without a straw is kind of ridiculous. Okay. So let's go ahead and make some decisions. We're going to switch cameras real quick. All right, so going back into this dungeon, we're going to go east through this stairwell, and I got a C for corridor, so I need to roll a d6, see if this corridor is occupied. It is a 6, so no, that is not occupied. Now, the question is, I know that going north, going through room P, and coming out that southerly door takes you around to below the starting point where we're at, through room G where the giant rat and all the debris was. And then from there, you can go south or you can go west. And last time we went west. And that took you to room E, which is room E is for empty. But this is the room that's just south of room B. It splits the difference between B and F, actually. But back in the room that had the two ghouls, that's north of us and a little bit east, that's room P, which I'm going to just kind of point to you on the map. You can kind of see this. We don't know where all this is. But you come out here, we went this way. We don't know what's over here. And I don't know that's a sealed room. But I feel like that's got some value to know that. And we've gone this way. And here's room F. Okay. So we have room P as a potential. We have the cave system going north out of room N and going into the hallway. We have room I, which I haven't even really discussed. Man, last week was so much stuff. In room I, we had the face that's the size of a manhole cover specifically. And there is the sundial in there. And there was a room, there was an exit to the north, and then there was an exit to the south. Then we have the tower. And then we haven't gone west out of room J, which is where the giant spider was. So we have P, J. I'm going to do the room N for the tunnels. That makes a lot of sense. Then we have I. Then we have S. And yeah, so we're going to pick a direction and do a lot of travel. We'll probably have more wandering encounters, but the thought process is, and let me go ahead and switch real quick for a few seconds. The thought process I have in this is, I want to, by rolling dice, I want to kind of complete the map. We're not going to complete everything. When I find what the end result of this dungeon is, if I find whatever the thing is, I'm going to stop and we will have conquered the Tower of Zenopus. And I'm going to later draw this, and all of this will be done over a time lapse of me drawing this map. And I'll be doing like a concise diary of what happened in the Tower of Zenopus. It's part of my eventual plan. But I'm going to have certain areas left undone because they're not going to be known because we didn't go there. We went a lot of other places, but we're not going to go everywhere. And I think that's going to make that map specific to this time down. Imagine doing this in other dungeons where maybe it's like a mega dungeon and you have several of these maps because you did several adventures. Okay, you get the journal, or several parties. And then that makes great sellable loot or party or handouts for future parties to be able to run into what the map of the prior party did. I've done that type of stuff in the past. I think it's great to actually do it kind of in this thing, this setup. Okay, so I'm going to do a little chart here. We have, again, we're going to do this, I think, in alphabetical order. So we have F, we can go south, right? Then we have I, riddle, I'm going to put. And then we have, what is that? In, tunnel. Oh, we got J in there. IJK. So yeah, it should have been right after the I. I'm going to put it after the N though. We're going to go west. And then we have P. And we got the east. Do I only have those spaces? Oh, tower. Duh. So we have S for stairs. I can put up. So we have, that's 6 places. Nice. Very nice. Okay. I'm going to put this here so you can see it on one camera. I'm going to roll dice on the other one. And this is quite literally how I'm soloing this thing, is by kind of not doing all the decision making myself. I'm not against a solo engine. As a matter of fact, I've just ordered one. When I do B1 in Search of the Unknown, since that is a module I've run, and I've played and run Basic Expert a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and add a system I don't know, which would be the solo engine of Mythic. We're going to use the Mythic game mechanic emulator, the MGME, to run that as a solo, and then that will introduce a bunch of other solo tactics like what I'm doing right here, just with its own thing. Okay, here's for the dice roll. Number 2. So we're going to go to I and look at the riddle. Okay, let me go back to room I. I'll read it. I got to make some wandering encounters. So I know there's no encounters inside the corridors for room C. However, I'm going to say there's no encounters in room B, where as in boy, where the skeletons was at, because it's right off of the corridor. I'm going to kind of count that as the same place. There isn't even a door, so I think that makes sense. I'm going to say room E, just south of room B, as in boy. That room could have an encounter. I'll do a wandering monster encounter there. And then I'm going to say that room F, if I roll an encounter, that room E and F will be for that encounter. And then I'm not going to do one in the corridor, but I will do another check in S, room S, where the tower is, as we pass through. And then, of course, in room I, I'll count that as S. So depending on what I roll, the encounter will be either in room S or in room I. So we're going to be doing several encounter rolls, probably having an encounter along the way. So we know we don't have one for C and for the room B's and boy. So Canary and boy are good. We're going to go to Echo and Foxtrot here for room F and room E. Here's for that. We are good. That's a 6. We're going to take this over to room S and I. So Sarah and Igloo. And we have an encounter. Hello, viewer. I'm glad to see you. Your name is... I'm guessing that's supposed to be Omnibus, maybe. Is that right? Is that Omnibus? Is that what you were going for? Or Mobus? Mobus. Okay, there you go. Mobus. Omnibus is something completely different. There, I realize you have an 8 at the beginning and the end. So that'd be Mobus, I'm guessing. Mobius. Would that be like a Matrix reference, probably? Or something of that nature? Sorry, I completely butchered your name there. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoy this. Okay. So between S and I, we're going to go and figure out what that is. I'm going to roll a D12 for the type of encounter. It is a 1. We have kobolds again. This is going to be 3D4. Oh my goodness. Okay, we only have 9 kobolds. That's a lot of kobolds. 1 through 4, 1 through 3 will be S. 4, 5, or 6 would be room I. It's going to be in the tower where we're going to have kobolds. Let me grab some kobolds. I have several kobolds. Here is, what is that, 7? Let me grab the rest. They're in my box. And for those who don't know, I have way more. I have plenty of kobolds. There's 8. And this one here is 9. I need 9 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I switch this one out. And really, his staff is broken. His spear is broken. This spearhead's missing. And I have like 10 or 12 more painted kobolds that I could still use. So we have plenty of kobolds. Let me go ahead and do this room up. It's circular. And I don't think I'm going to make it a circle. I don't have a good... I mean, I have this, but that's not exactly going to work the way I want it. It's designed to be a tower, but it's supposed to be like the roof of a tower. And yeah, we're not doing it that way. We're going to use this again as my room S. And I'll put the stairwell, which I have over here, in the room. And it was like this. Go ahead and do up some scatter terrain real quick. One of the things I was looking at was how to make this better. And that is, requires a lot more like scatter terrain like what I have. But essentially what it is, there's some rooms in and out here, isn't there? Is to have all this stuff kind of done pre-made like you see in those live actions. his life place, and having that set up that way, and kind of have it like all like, you know, you don't have to, I don't have to decide where things are going. Don't need that. We'll put like a table over here, and then I had a chair. Where's my chair? Yeah, here's my chair. But I have all sorts of this stuff, and I think having more of it would just make a lot of sense. And a place like this where you have some of this, just having a lot of these things around, I think would be nice for my actual place, since I'm going to be using miniatures. Let me go ahead and get my party lined up. We don't need this right this second. We will come back to this. I'll set this over here, maybe. Over here we have our tower. And we have Hilda, Orem, Ranilda, and the Torchbearer. Then we have Odberg, and then Rumwald in the back. And I'm going to do a luck roll real quick to see how close or how bad this is for the adventuring party. 5, so fairly unlucky. Are any of these kobolds going to come with bows? I'm going to say some are automatically, because I rolled a low roll already. This is going to be how many come with bows. 18. So I'm going to say a D3 come with bows. That's a 4, so 2. 2 have bows. Are those bows closer or away? I'm going to say that's away. Really bad roll there would have been like on the stairs, shooting down at you. We'll still have some people on the stairs. And we'll have some people pulling guard. It's going to be kind of scattered around. They're going to be an adventuring party of kobolds running around the dungeon. And I'm going to say these two over here are the ones with bows. Actually, I'm going to change that up. Spears are going to be spears. Shields will be bows. So these two will have bows. So if they get over there, they're fine. Now, we're going to go ahead and have them... let's see here one second. Okay, we're good. I thought my stream froze. All right, we're going to go ahead and do our hear noise checks. This is for Hilda. She's going to hear. Here's for Orem. Orem will hear. I'm going to give the kobolds a dexterity check. Let me roll that, by the way, to see what their dexterity is. So they're a 12 dexterity on average. So they got to roll below a 12. A 20 is going to mean they're in there having an argument. I'm going to take that as a luck roll too, sort of in a way. And they're going to be arguing. Both of the party members are going to realize that there is someone who is speaking kobold. And I need to look and see if actually Orem speaks kobold. There's a potential he could know that literally these are kobolds before he even gets in the room. I mean, they're going to sound yippy and kobold-esque. But the question is, does he actually know that going into this? And since Orem was one of the originals, I actually wrote what languages they spoke. if I remember right. Some of them I did. Where did I put that? Well, let me look at the book for what elves know for languages. Okay, elves can speak orc, hobgoblin, gnolls, so they don't speak kobold. Dwarves, we don't have a dwarf. I think dwarves spoke kobold because they're part of the earth races, which makes a lot of sense. And the orcs and the elves speak orcs because they're of the forest. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. So they're going to know it's a foreign race, not necessarily that it is kobolds, because they haven't really faced kobolds a lot. The only one that's seen a kobold alive was when Twiller died, and that was Ronilda, who was a torchbearer at the time, and Oddberg. So they can tell there's a lot. Orm's going to suggest to Hilda to try and open the door, and he will probably use his sleep spell because he has it memorized, and we'll just make short work of this. Probably. All right, so here is for Hilda's strength check to open the door. That is a fail. So we'll have Orem assist. Now I'm going to give the kobolds a hear noise. A 6 will be a fail. I'm going to give a second one because there's so many. That's also going to be a failure. So they don't realize that people are trying to push through the door. I'm going to have Ronilla try and open the door because she's just next to the line. She's going to fail. I'm going to have Oddberg push. Nope. And then Rumwald. Oh my goodness. They have all the benefits in the world and they're failing. We're down to the new magic user. No, he's not a magic user. Excuse me. The new torchbearer. No one can open the door. Okay, we have finally run into that situation where they cannot open the door. They have to either leave and come back, or they have to bust the door down. I don't know what they're going to do. Kobolds, do they hear? No, they hear. I was going to give them 2 more rolls after that, actually, because I was going to do it. So there's 6 people. Every time 2 people push, that's going to give them a roll. Here's for the monster reaction. 7. 7 is like not necessarily terrified or scared or immediately going to jump into combat. Yeah, what would that be? Let's see here. I'm thinking that Okay. We're going to do a list of things here. So we're going to have leaves because they could just avoid combat. We're going to have opens a door and attacks has a small chance. I'm going to say a 5-6 is opens the door and attacks. That's actually the best possible result for the party. I'm going to say on a 1-2, they just leave. And on a 3 or a 4, I'm going to say, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, they leave. I'm going to say on a 5 or 6, they open the door and attack. And on a 4, probably the worst result, I'm going to say they sneak upstairs or something like that and observe the party to find out if there's any weaknesses with them. All right, here's for the roll. They're going to be clever, what they're going to be if they rolled a 4. The 4 was not rolled, a 5 or 6. So they're going to open the door, but they're going to be gathered around it. It's actually probably the best result for kobolds. Now, kobolds are small creatures, so we're going to be able to attack in melee with all 7, and then the 2 bowmen will be able to shoot their bows from on high of things, because kobolds are small, and whatever this is probably at least dwarf height, if not taller. And they take cover for dwarves, but they would be fine for everyone else. So we're going to go ahead and open the door, and they will have initiative. I will roll for surprise on the party, and I'm going to roll luck right now for the party. So here's for luck. Is the party ready at all? So that's a 9. I'm going to say they're ready. They got back in formation. They're trying to decide what they're going to do. And the door opens, and kobolds jump out with spears. Huzzah! Now, here's for Hilda. Is Hilda surprised? No. Is Orem surprised? Yes. So Orem will, good night. Orem will not be able to attack this round. That's unfortunate. Torchbearer. Not that matters. It's Torchbearer. Here is for Ronilda. Oh my goodness. 3. That is not. And then we'll have Oddberg. Nope. And Rumwald. Rumwald's going to be surprised. Okay. So, we're going to use a house rule that I've always used. It's going to, if I had a list of like house rules, I think this is a good one. We'll go ahead and get into that though. But the kobolds are going to go first for 2 reasons. A, they have the initiative of surprise. They're doing actions that do things. I'm going to say the archers can't fire the first turn, but they're going to be able to attack after that because they're waiting for the door to open. So they're not going to be a part of the surprise, but they will get to go next round. But all 7 of the kobolds will be able to go first before anyone gets any actions, any movements. And then we'll go ahead and allow the party to take available action. All right, so I'm going to say odd is Hilda, even is Orem. 4 attacks will go to one, 3 will go to the other. So odd was Hilda. So Hilda will be getting attacked 4 times. Here's for the first one from Hilda. 16 will miss, but barely. 2 will miss. 4 will miss. And a 14 will miss. Now, Orem also has a great AC. A 2 will miss. A 10 will miss. And a 15 will miss, but barely. Okay. So now this party will get to take their actions. And since they were kind of in shock and surprise while not being fully there, they will be able to attack this turn or whatever if they were not surprised. But what they'll be able to do is whenever you have a character who's held or in a vulnerable spot, really like a magic user type of thing could really have this problem. I allow people to interpose. Essentially, they take your spot, you take their spot. So, Orem will be swapped with the cleric. The back rank is still stunned or shocked from the initial burst of combat. But what that means is the cleric has lost his ability to attack this turn, but he has swapped positions with someone who's obviously surprised. And the only one that's going to be able to attack back this turn is Hilda. And that's because you can only have so many people attack through a doorway at one time. It just doesn't make sense. I could get 3 people there, but they'd have to be using swords or spears. And luckily, a lot of people have that, if we need that. Okay, so my attack back, let me look at what kobolds have for armor class. I want to say they're an 8, if I remember right. And that would hit AC 8. Kobolds are AC 7, so I actually need to look at this real quick. No, wait. Okay. Hilda's using a +1 weapon. So that's an 11. Gotta look at my THAC-O real quick. Actually, I wrote it down. So 11 would hit AC 8. Yes, I had that right. They need a 12 to hit AC 7. Yeah, that's right. So that's going to be a miss. Kobolds will get to go first again because they have a higher initiative. This time we're going to have archery as well. This is for the 2 archers. They're going to shoot the front ranks, 1 into each. That's going to be a 1. Here's for a dexterity check. That's going to be above it. So what's going to happen is the bow is going to unstring and become disabled. And the bow is going to be dropped on the ground in the process, meaning the kobold doesn't even have the bow. So the kobold's then going to have to run into melee or whatever, and it's not going to have access to that bow anymore. Here's for the second kobold with a bow. 7 will miss. We're going to go back into this again. I'm going to say they don't really shift any. We're going to have 4 against Hilda. 19 will hit. 18 will hit. Oh, no. A 9 will miss. A 9 will miss. Here's for the Oddbird. Oh, we have a nat 20. Let me go ahead and... Here's for the other one. 16 will miss. A 5 will miss. Okay. Here is for Hilda. I don't think Hilda's ever had... Has Hilda had damage rolled against her? Hilda is unknown. Has never been hit in melee, as you can see. No hit points. So, here's for the hit points. Reroll 1s. She has a 7 constitution, so she has no con bonus, no con negatives, more importantly. 1s are rerolled. Oh my goodness. We have a dead Hilda. This is attention. Because, yeah, Hilda can't take a hit. So she got hit for 5 points of damage, which would normally be very survivable. But Hilda is dead with her 2 hit points. Now we have Oddberg over here, who's being hit for 2d6 damage because of a crit. Oh, my word. Oddberg got hit for 9 points of damage. What a cleaving hit. Good thing you have made second level, and you have a Cure Light Wound spell. Can't do it right now. Oddberg's going to realize this is bad news. And he's going to be backing up. And Rumwald is going to be moving forward. And I don't think, boy, I don't think he'd run. The plan was always to have Orem cast Sleep, which he needs to do right now. So I think we'll wait for the sleep spell and see how many people it actually affects before we do that. So it's the first time we're casting sleep in this version of the game. Wow, Oddbird, you need to not. Oh yeah, right. One second. Before I go anywhere, do anything. On the back of Hilda's sheet, killed by Kobold. This will be based on a future video I'll be doing, talking about how Holmes Edition is the most deadly combat of all forms of Dungeons and Dragons. Thus again, very warranted. Almost lost 2 PCs in 1 round. As insane as that. I just held a paper for no one to see because you can't see it, but killed by Kobold. I had the wrong. Eventually, I'll have that camera up too. I just my laptop can't run 3 cameras right now. We're gonna fix that though. Okay, so here is for Orem spell. I gotta look up what sleep does. This is the first time we've casted this game. We haven't cast sleep spell yet. So range is 240 feet. Duration is 4 to 16 turns, so ever. Puts all kind of creatures to sleep for 2 to 8 turns. Higher level creatures are less affected. Okay. So we're doing another one of these scaling systems. You can put 1 creature asleep for a period of time, or you can do, I'm assuming that's how it goes. If the creatures have up to 1 hit dice, which is what we do, or 1 plus 1 hit dice, roll 2d8 and find the number. That's how many numbers of creatures get put to sleep. If it's 2 hit dice or 2 plus 1, it's 2d6. If it's 3 hit dice or 3 plus 2, you roll 1d6. And if it's a 4 plus 1 or 4 hit dice, then you only can put 1 creature asleep. Now, these are less than 1 hit dice. So we will get 2d8. And I happen to have 2d8. So we put 11 creatures to sleep. So they all go to sleep. And even Oddbird will have no problems slaying these guys. Let me switch cameras. Yes, even Oddbird will have no problems slaying these guys after seeing Hilda get just obliterated in this ambush. I'm not going to say roll dice for anything. We are going to just go ahead and consider them to have a value. The way I typically work it is they will have a D6 gold worth of assorted gems. And the gems will range between electrum to silver, copper, and gold. With more silver and copper than electrum or gold pieces. They won't necessarily have platinum. Platinum would be essentially sucked up by the higher ranking stuff or whatever. I will roll that later. But we have a total of 9 kobolds dead. And Hilda, who has the dagger, died. So the dagger will find a new home or something, and we'll figure out that in a future post. And the information for the dagger wasn't fully explored, so it may not have even helped Hilda. Though no one is going to go take the dagger out of its hilt from Hilda at this point in time, that would be rather insane. They'll just kind of tuck it away inside her backpack and carry her backpack, as well as take her out. So this room is done. We're going to go from here into room I. We don't need to roll for room I. However, I am going to give a D6 roll for whether those 2 orcs go to D4s, and they don't, if you remember that from prior weeks. And I have thought how that's going to work moving forward. I rolled a 4. Sorry, wrong camera. You don't get to see all the cameras at once, unfortunately. Not yet. We're going to go ahead and get this room set up. And we're going to set up, I'm not even set up room I. We're just going to talk about room I. Because room I is too big. It's like 100 feet long and 40 feet wide. Room I has got the riddle, if I remember right. The doors on the north and south side, the east walls give off an entrance to this room, which is the way we're coming in. In the center of the room is a bronze sundial on the floor, on a low pedestal set into some stone on the west wall. On the opposite wall is a mask that has the eyes and mouth are both shut. Below the mask is some common. The party has walked over and read it. It says, "I will answer questions. 1, no more. I never speak till it be 4." And that's the riddle that they're trying to sort out. The magic is activated by shining light from a single torch. Now, we know this because there's a torch on the far side of the wall. So, probably shouldn't have read that part. But I think it'd be very easy to figure it out. The sundial. I love how they say the mask is a manhole size mask. A modern terminology in there. Okay. So, and again, this room is massive. It doesn't actually give a room description size, but I know it to be 10 by 4, so that's 40 feet across and 100 feet north-south. Okay. So how are we going to do this? Walking around with a torch, eventually the sundial will actually trigger, and it literally says that. It says, since the shadow has to be held on the Roman number 4, there is a little chance of triggering the magic accidentally, even by walking around the sundial. Well, I don't know why they would say little. If you're walking around with a torchlight and it goes across the 4 and that triggers it, then it goes across the 4, right? And it just makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to treat this as I'm going to have the party accidentally potentially trigger this like they would actually trigger a trap, which in Dungeons and Dragons at this point in time is a 1 in 6 chance of doing that. I'm going to go ahead and switch cameras so you can watch the dice roll. Actually, yes, let's do this one. I like this one for this. So I'm going to roll for 2 people because there's 2 torches. So here's for our new torchbearer, which I don't want to forget his name. It's all red. No. And here is for Oddberg. Oh, before I do anything, excuse me, Oddberg is going to cast Cure Light Wounds on himself for 4 plus 1 hit points. Total of 5. I'm not a huge fan of leaving myself at that amount of hit points, but I don't think he has another Cure Light Wound potion, so we're going to have to just be satisfied with that. Here's for his torchlight. No. So, they're not going to figure it out by accident. I'm going to give them a 4, 5, or 6 to put the torch in the sconce to see what it does. So, they do put a torch inside the sconce on the wall, and they realize that the sundial, basically, in that torch casts light onto a certain number. I'm going to roll a luck chance to see if it happens to be 4. 4 comes around twice a day, so maybe, actually, I should do it like this. A 1 in 12 chance. Huh? That's 4 o'clock. That is a 7. So, that is not it. So, it is 7 o'clock, apparently, probably morning, when they are here. They have several hours to do that. I'm going to say that the wording is pretty simple. They're going to come back and check this later and see if the torch light is on a different number later. And, of course, it will, because the sundial is slowly turning 1 number per hour, as if, you know. So that's going to be the way they're going to tell what's going on. Now the question is, are they going to go north or south out of this room, or are they going to wait? I'm going to say that there is little chance they're going to wait. I'm going to say a 1 in 6 chance they're going to wait. We're going to do this in 2 rolls. That's a 3. They're not waiting. They're going to leave. Are they going to go north? That'd be 4, 5, or 6. They are going to go north out of this room. So let's go ahead and set up this room. This room is 40 feet across. I'm going to switch cameras real quick. Give me a second here. I'll switch cameras. Not this one. Okay. So this is 40 feet across. We're going to have it like this. Oof. We're going to have it like this, and Rumwald will watch the rear. Will move up to the front and take Hilda's spot. Here's for knowing what's on the other side of this room. I gotta go read the next room. This is a room H as in hotel. I don't know what that means yet, so give me a second while I read. Okay, very interesting. So, I'm going to need to grab another one of my tile sets. Let me do a hear noise check from the two in the front. Here's for Orem, 4, and for not Hilda anymore, but Rumwald. Rumwald is going to make a decision here. Okay. So they're going to open a door. There's no reason to think there's any traps. They didn't hear anything. They fail to open it. Here's for the magic user. Sorry, Ronilda. Here's for the new torchbearer. All red. It's no. And here's for Oddbird. No. Again, they cannot open this door. I don't know. 4, 5, or 6 are going to go through it anyways. 1, 2, 3, they're going to go to the south. So they are going to go through it anyways. They're going to shut the doors, and they're basically going to beat their way through it. I need to look at the map real quick, make sure the sound doesn't really go anywhere. Okay, yeah, we're fine. So they're going to beat their way through it. I'm going to do a wandering monster check just because that would cause a wandering monster, potentially. There was a 5, so nothing. They're going to beat the door down, bust it up enough to get through it. It's not going to be completely knocked down, but they will have dislodged it enough to be able to get the door open. And much to their surprise of not being able to make a listen check, this room is 50 feet by 80 feet with a river running through it. And they didn't hear the water. There's an underground river that runs through this, and there's no obvious sign away across it. But on the far side, there is another door that takes you farther north. And let me get my other little setup here. I don't want this. Give me a second. Yes. So this is not exactly a 1-to-1 ratio. This is not a river. But this is pretty doggone perfect. So we're going to have a 50-foot by 80-foot space. So this is... Actually, I don't need it like that. I just need this. This is what that would look like. Okay. I'm actually going to pull these guys off of here and just put like this. I could do it just like this. Get this out of the way. Perfect. Okay. Then I can slide this back. And over here, not a sewer, but a river. And on the other side, we're going to have more it basically mirrors itself. You get the general idea. And the river is flowing this way, right here. So they bust open the door. You go into the room. Now, one of the things they don't say in any other part of the dungeon, and I was looking for it, is what are the walls made out of? Is it granite, stone, or whatever? They say it specifically here. The ceiling is 20 foot tall, which they also don't say how high the ceiling is in any of these areas. So it's the first time I talk about the ceiling heights, which I find interesting. I'm going to assume that the entire dungeon is sort of a granite structure underground, and that they replaced the earth walls with stone walls using granite, and that this natural formation was probably channelized in this room and then quickly goes wild as soon as it leaves. The current is strong, though, and they give specifically instructions for crossing this water, either jumping it, swimming, and drowning, and that type of thing, which I did not know they did. I know they did that in B1. I did not realize they did that here too. And I think that's an interesting way to display the rules. I would like it more if they had the rules in the book and then it exposed the rules or re-showed you the rules in the adventure. But we're good enough to have it here. Okay. So, is this going to defeat them? Are they going to want to go north? Or they want to find a different way around? Ronilda is like, I can get us across, but it's going to be one way. So if we get over there and we don't like what's there, we're not going to be able to get back unless we jump back across this or swim back across this, which probably means taking off armor, which is a lot of time. So we're going to make a DC check here. We're going to do 1 through 3. They're going to turn around. 4, 5, or 6. They're going to be able to go through it. So we have a 6. They are going to go through it. Ronilda says, all right, everyone gather around. When you are ready, we will cross, and I will cast my spell. The spell she happens to memorize. Tinser's Floating Disc. Now, I want to make sure it's the same in this version as it is in other editions before I do this, because I have not actually read it in this edition. I'm just kind of basing off of my general knowledge of Tinser's Floating Disc, and assuming that it's the same in all the different versions, which is a mistake on my part. Tinser's Floating Disc is level 1, has range of 10 feet. It has a duration of 6 turns, plenty of turns. And it refers to the magic user as a wizard, but it says the wizard, Tinser, always greedy for more treasure, devise a spell that allows him to summon a floating platform in which is shaped like a disc that floats at the approximate waist height and can bear up to 5,000 gold pieces. The disc will allow the following. The magic user can be who created it, and wherever he goes, it stays 6 feet behind him at all times. When the spell wears out, anything still on the floating disc will fall to the ground. Okay, so it's not exactly the same as it is in other editions, but it's still pretty good. And I'm going to say Tinser's Floating Disc had a little bit more freedom than that, and as in it's tethered to him, so it won't leave more than 6 feet away from him, but it doesn't necessarily have to be directly behind him at 6 feet. So what this will allow him to do is to stand on his own disc, or her own disc, and then she will be able to go around. Now, it doesn't say how big the disc is. All right. I don't think it said how big the disc is. It said it holds 5,000 pounds and doesn't go it stays at 6 feet from the rear of the caster. But I think, again, that's just wording choice. Range 10 feet, 6 turns. So I'm going to say it's a 5-foot space. And here's the power of and why I would say yes to this spell. Is it's going to allow the magic user and one other to ferry themselves across the water because it floats at waist height above water and earth the same. And that then allows them to be on the other side where this door would be, essentially. And they don't fall in the river. Now, let's go ahead and talk real quickly about what that is. Or maybe I shouldn't. I think I'll leave it alone. But when I go and talk about more of what I learned from this dungeon, I will talk specifically about what it says in there. And we will just move on. Now, there is a door that continues north out this room. Okay, we're going to go up and check out that door. Here's for the listen noise of Orm. Nope. And for Rumwald. Rumwald will hear if there's anything there. I'm going to go ahead and roll a corridor check on the other side. That's a 6. So that will not be a corridor. Then I'm going to go ahead and roll to see if you can open the door. Nope. And for Orm? Yes. Okay, so they get the door open, and it opens into a corridor. Let me go ahead. When I get everything set up in the future, one of the things I'm going to do is make it so it's easier to navigate my space. Where I have things kind of tucked away. And all that type of stuff. And I won't have to like, it'll just be like, just set it aside, you know? I think that's a good way of being. Okay, so they open a door. Rumwald and Orm are going to step out into it and look in different directions because this hallway's pretty long. Torchbearer is going to come out. Oddberg will come out with a lantern. And then Ronilda will stand there in the doorway, kind of observing what's going on around behind them. Now her spell is gone. Now she still has Tinser's Disc, so they could just immediately run back. But they have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 60 feet this way. And then this other way here goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So 40 feet that way and then turns that way. So that would look like, that's 20. I don't think you're going to see this. You'll see it in the other camera, ironically. And then it turns north. There's a door at this 60 feet. You can see that because the torch light, no, the lantern light does that. So they're going to go left or right. Here is for left, 4, 5, 6. They are going to go left. They're going to leave the right alone. And interesting. It goes 20, actually goes that far, and then there's a door. See here. Okay. So they're going to be like this. We are pretty far into this place. We are down a person. We've been doing this a good clip. But we're going to explore, continue a little bit more. And we will go from there. Okay, so we have this hallway. Essentially, this is what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and roll for hear noise. This is for Orm. And here's for Rumwald. Keep wanting to say Hilda, but she's no longer with us, unfortunately. So I don't know if there's anything there. Here's for them to open doors since they don't have a thief. There's no checking for traps. Here's for Orm. Here's for Rumwald. Nope. Oddberg gets it. Now I gotta look and see what the actual room is. The room is 30 feet by 40 feet. So this right. Oops, excuse me. Like this. Throw some stuff in here again because we just need a little bit of dungeon stuff because that just makes sense. We have a door on the far side. A lot like this. And I'm going to go ahead and roll to see if there's anything in it because it's a type E room. 3 is nothing. I need to roll for unguarded loot. Nope. And I got to roll for traps. And we do have a trap of some nature. Here's for the danger of the trap. Luck. So pretty moderate. I feel like I need to have a list of traps. So I'm not having to like, is it sound? Is it physical? Is it, So I'm going to do like damage or effect. High is a damage, low is effect. So it's going to be an effect. Okay. So walking across the room, just real simple. Here's for Orm. No, it's a 1 in 6 chance. Here's for Rumwald. Nope. Torchbearer, even Torchbearer gets involved. Oddberg, nope. And Ronilda. Ronilda, of course, sets it off. And I'm going to say it's another noise trap like we had before with bells, which is going to, bells and wire, which is going to cause a wandering monster check. We do not get that. Here's for the orc. That does not drop to a D6. This will stay here. But that will move out of the way. And then we have this room right here. Okay. So we have that. Just an empty room with stuff. A door going north. Listen check on the other side. They're going to make it and fail it. So Orm's going to get it. Rumwald did not. Here's for the open doors. Orm's going to be able to open it. On the other side of this, I'm not going to give an encounter check. That would be part of the corridor check from before. I'm going to say that opens. So I'm going to describe this a little different than I have other rooms. And I'm going to draw it like this. So I'm going to pull this all the way back. Yes. And I'm going to put an extra 10 feet here. This is a hallway, an L-shaped hallway that then turns into natural cavern. Okay, I'm going to say this is not anywhere close to a perfect representation of a natural cavern. I see the hole I have in my tile sets. So moving forward, I might have to fix that. But this is supposed to be like a natural cavern. I love everything about it except for the fact that it has these mandatory doorways. These are not actually going to be doorways. And actually, this kind of curves south. New, old. I would say we're probably going to go old. So I'm going to make this a 1 and 2, and everything else is going to go this way. We are going to go this way. But we know where this is. This is new. This is interesting. We will look at that again in the future. They're going to go this way. There's going to be another door. And Ronilda will be facing that way. I'm going to clear this stuff out of the way. Don't need these things right here. The other thing I want to do is make it so it's a smooth surface and my tiles don't keep getting stuck on the warped wood I have down here. This was the color of the table before rain weathered this wood table off. I just need to resand this thing or something. Anyways, so that's what we have. Here's what's next. We're going to do a listen check. So Orem's good. Rumwald is not. He's going to go ahead and try and open it. Here's for Orem. Here's for Rumwald. Here's for Oddberg. Torchbearer. 3. And here's for Ronilda. Finally, Ronilda coming in clutch. She opens the door. Finally able to get enough leverage behind it with her pushing on it to open the door. I need to roll because this is a named room, but I need to see if there's anything that's repopulated it because we have been here before. No. There was the beginning of a trap. We'll roll to see if that's complete. Unguarded loot, though. It's been long enough. We do not have unguarded loot. I'm going to say on a 4, 5, or 6, they've completed the trap. We have not completed the trap. The stuff to make the trap is still there. It's just not done yet. The party's been here too many times to disrupt it. So, what room do we have? Let me switch cameras. That room opens up into room J, which is the room with the spider. The giant spider that was killed that had the dagger stuck in the bottom of it inside the carapace. Where, ironically, Rumwald got his dagger. So Rumwald now has returned to the room from which he got the first magic item, which was the dagger. They are going to leave, probably. I'm looking at the time. We are just over 2 hours. I think this is a good place to stop. The question is, are they going to leave the dungeon and resupply and go check out this natural cave pattern area, or are they going to just go into it right now? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch cameras real quick. We're going to roll that dice and figure it out. Oh, sorry. For whatever reason, my thing that was supposed to show all the people talking hasn't been updating. So there's been a lot of chats. We'll get to that in a second. Here's for the 4, 5, or 6. So yes, they are leaving, and they will resupply and come back, and we'll go from that. Oops. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat, and I completely missed that I didn't put the other camera up. But yes, I rolled a 6. So we do have several people that have been hosting a live event. So Mobius there. Yes, Mobius, Ronilda did get upgraded to a new party member. It was part of the poll. Yep, absolutely. Steven, nice to see you again. Welcome back. They're all deaf. I don't know what that's about. I have to see maybe when that was said. Kobolds, yes. Just painted up 17 of those little buggers. Yes, I think I'm almost like 25 or 30 kobolds. And I have some really cool ones that are different. And I don't know where these came from. And they were not designed to be kobolds. But I kind of went with a kobold look. I'll show you. I would be terrified of these. Well, first of all, let me show you some of the more specific ones. I actually have kobolds with bows too. I'll show you that. For a race that has a lot of bows, I did not get a lot of bow users. I have 2. Like the pack comes with 1 kobold with a bow, it came with like 2 total bows, and then I have a kobold king, which I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll take maybe pictures of it, and then I have this guy here with a staff and a scroll, and he's literally wearing robes. And they were not designed to be kobolds, but I painted them out to be kobolds, and you can't tell they're not kobolds. And then I have an actual kobold with a staff. And I have these kobolds with bows, as you can see. And I have 2 with bows, unfortunately. I don't have a whole lot of the kobolds with bows, but I literally do have a kobold king with a scepter and a skull as if he's like Shakespearean. So fun times. All right. Yeah, they're going to leave. I'm going to get a wandering monster check going through A, and then that would be it. Let me go ahead and switch real quick so you can check that. And I'm going to answer the rest of these questions. Let me switch cameras. Here's for room A. We have no wandering monster in there, so we are good. And there we go. Now let me go back to these questions. All right. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's when Steve was there when Hilda died. So was Mobius. Death by Dogman. That's kind of funny. Sleep spell better go off. Absolutely right. No snake eyes. Mobius like perfect. We had more hit dice rolled than we actually had kobolds. And Mobius says that's why hooded lanterns are the best. I'm assuming that's when they could see farther in torchlight. Yes, and torchlight is 30-foot radius. The way I've always worked it is 30 foot of actual light, and then when I play game systems that have twilight, I have that as a 30 foot of twilight. I could see that being less and less. The reason why I work that in other game systems is, in other editions really, is there are races like the ones that have infravision versus dark vision. When they are in the sunset, they talk about the fact that they suffer negative because their eyes are transitioning between both normal vision and regular vision. So if you're focusing on something in the twilight range and you have infravision, then what happens is you actually suffer a negative like you would normally in twilight. So it's obnoxious. You can see stuff in the 30-foot light radius, but anything beyond that, in the twilight is actually harder to see than stuff that's outside of it. Also, in those same editions, if you're in the light, your infravision will not turn on. So that is for people outside the light looking into an orb of light. So if you are away, if you're an elf and you're watching people walk by with torchlight, everyone in the torch is perfectly visible. Everyone within your infravision outside of the twilight is perfectly visible. And anything in the twilight, which would basically be before and after as they're walking by, that would be at neg 1, for example. And that's how that works. But that's way too complicated for this. And that's a modern polish we're not experiencing here. Yes. Give that D12 some love. The river runs. Oh, cool. Thank you for being all the way here. It's Brad Pitt flying fish on it. Yeah. Guy go close up on the shop. Have giant, have a great rest. Oh, so I think Steve works at some sort of store and watches this from the store. I'm hoping it's an LGS, but I have to find out in the future. Yeah, Mobius, like no spells, dead party, head back. Yeah, I completely agree. So that is what they're doing. We're going to go back to that rest, and then we'll come back either later this week or next week and then complete this, and then probably be going off into the natural caves, because that seems like we've hit a couple interesting things: an underground river and this river thing. And the other thing is room I with the riddle. I kind of read it, but we kind of know what we're doing now. We just have to be there at the right time. And I feel like that's a good place and time to be at. So we'll go ahead and end this adventure now. I'll do a post later tonight where I talk about what's going on and put up some posts the rest of this week and find out where we're going to pull our new party member from. I don't think the Torchbearer did anything this week to deserve being promoted, so I'm not even going to include that one. But we will look at where we're going to do this from everything else. Okay, guys, so thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys in the next one, and keep rolling those dice. Bye. I want to do this right.